What's up, chums? Sharky here, and welcome back to the Shark Bites podcast. I'm here with Kalani today.
Hi.
How have you been this week?
Pretty damn good.
It's been a week.
It's been a week.
Yeah, like I don't know, just one thing after the other. For me, anyway.
Yeah, it's been honestly a really great week for me.
I'm glad.
The what? I mean, it's been slightly chilly, but honestly pretty nice weather.
Yeah,
Just slightly too cold to open the windows.
it's like it's trying to be spring here, but it's like halfway there.
It's like if you tell someone from Alaska what spring is and that's their guess.
Cause we had like a few days. I almost combined couple and a few. A fupple.
Mhm.
We had a few days where it was like 84 degrees,
Gross.
and now it's like dropping back down to. We had one that was like 55 or something like that, 56,
It's
and
been around 54 to 60 here.
now it's like back up in the 70s. I'm like, which way are we going? Are we going colder or are we going hotter? Like, what's going on?
I don't know.
Pick a lane, weather.
It's two people fighting over the thermostat.
For real. And like, I mean, I know 60 doesn't sound cold, but like it is for Texas. Like you feel it here.
You Texans can't handle the cold.
I honestly can't anymore. Like I've lived here too long to like handle cold.
Need to bring you back here for an Illinois winter.
Ugh. I have no snow or ice tolerance anymore. Like as soon as I hear about it or see it, I'm just like, ugh.
Texas has made you weak.
In a lot of ways, yeah, it has. But
In Texas, they fight snow by shooting it.
I, contrary to most people in Texas, I do not own a gun, but my dad does.
Now, we've got severe weather coming on Friday.
What kind of severe weather?
They're talking tornadoes, strong wind, the normal. It's
Well,
Illinois. So I'm just like, okay.
not to change the
I,
subject, but I'm gonna change the subject.
okay.
I was pissed this week.
Oh.
I found out I had no idea about this. So you know like that done first like ADHD thing that I've been on?
The what?
The video about like the telehealth for ADHD stuff that I made.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been on that I think since like September or October of last year. I've been on that um
Hmm.
as a way to get like medication. So I got a call at work. I think it was maybe Monday. I can't remember. This past week, where Walgreens straight up called me and they were like, "Hey, so we're not accepting telehealth scripts anymore, so we're not gonna fill your meds. Okay, bye."
Well then.
Like they left me a message and said that, and I was like, "So you're not gonna give me any alternatives or tell me why this is happening?" Like, God
Just
forbid I needed it to live or anything.
just hey, we're not doing this anymore. Bye.
Pretty much, yeah. And then my mom's a therapist, and I asked her about it, like, hey, you know more about telehealth than me, like, what the heck is going on? And she said apparently, like, telehealth as a whole was, like, part of a bill that was passed during COVID that is no longer going to be in effect as of May of this year.
Huh.
Because for some reason our country is trying to get rid of like all things related to C-19, and I'm like, for real?
We could have a whole episode just on
I
everything the country's doing.
I'm trying not to go there. But she was like, yeah, it's ending in May, so like everybody that had telehealth services like through Zoom and all that stuff is going away. And I was like, what about people that like have depression and can't leave the house and stuff? Like they need that. They need to talk to people.
Yeah.
But the government's just like, no, we're just gonna get rid of it. So I was kind of mad
Eh.
about that, and now I'm going through the gut wrenching process of finding a doctor because
Ugh.
I don't have a local doctor right now, so that's fun.
Best of luck with that.
Yeah, I've gone to a couple different places, or like I'm kind of just scoping it out. I'm gonna talk to a psychiatrist this weekend.
I wish you the best of luck with all that.
I need it. I have like a free consultation thing, and I just want some direction because I have no idea what I'm looking at. But so that happened. But in other news, last weekend I got a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Picasso.
How's he do? How's he doing?
He is the sweetest boy ever.
Aw.
He does this thing where he'll like ride the outflow pump, and it's really cute.
That is adorable. You'll have
He's
to get video of that sometime.
he's literally like surfing.
Aw.
He's just so derpy and cute.
He a little surfer. Aw.
And then I told my boss about him, and I like showed her a picture and stuff. And then she was like, I think I want an aquarium. And I was like, hold on a second. You need to talk to me first before you get a fish.
You don't just grab a tank, fill it with water, and throw a fish in it.
My boss just laughed. I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, she was like, well, my kids had like little goldfish and they did okay. And I'm like, this ain't a goldfish, lady. Okay, this is a
Serious
life.
business.
This is a life.
The aquarium life.
Yeah, she was like, well, I don't want to spend any money. I'm like, if you want to do it right and you want your fish to live and be happy, then you need to spend money. I'm sorry, but like, it's just how it is.
How would you feel if you were thrown into a way too small tank with horrible living conditions?
It just baffles me like how little people don't know about fish as pets. I'm like, having any pet, you
That's
don't just get the pet, okay? Like you do months of preparing and research before you get anything.
that's how I feel about people when they get birds. They look at it and they're like, "Oh, parakeets! I've seen them talk online," and then they bring one home and they keep it in too small of a cage, terrible diet, and then they yell at it when it makes noise, but also yell at it when it doesn't talk or sing pretty songs.
We did a whole video, a whole podcast episode on that.
Yeah,
You guys should
people.
check it out. It's I forgot what number it is, but it's on that playlist somewhere.
Some people just shouldn't get pets.
Amen. Like kids, some people just shouldn't have kids either.
Exactly.
But that's a whole nother topic. So
Some people just shouldn't. Period. Some
what
people just shouldn't.
a perfect segue. Well, not perfect, but like into the
A,
topic for today.
a segue.
An attempt of a segue was made. Um, our topic is nostalgia today, which we've kind of done similar episodes in the past where we've talked about just us being old, among other things. But nah, this one's gonna be about nostalgia. and how we were raised and things that we remember.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, 84 years ago. I was telling Kalani that I've been rewatching Rugrats. First it was oh, what was the show before that? Hey Arnold. I finished all of that. And now I'm watching Rugrats again. There's like 13 seasons of Rugrats. I didn't know that.
In multiple movies.
Yeah, I haven't made it to the movies yet.
Now, I've not watched the new Rugrats though.
No, me neither.
I like how they tried to capture
Yeah.
the design, but the eyes, because of how they had to do it, are so off-putting and creepy.
Yeah, the animation just doesn't do it for me.
It was like they were so close to perfect with it, and then they just took a complete turn in the opposite direction.
It's just kind of that uncanny valley area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they bring back the original voice actors for that?
I think a few of them,
Like Tara
but not
Strong?
all. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the ones like that who are still voice acting and can do the voices.
I love Rugrats. It's really become like my comfort show where I could just turn my brain off and watch it.
It's so good.
It is. And it's so like it's funny watching it as an adult because you pick up on stuff that you missed as a kid.
Mhm. Oh, do you remember like whenever the movies had came out and at like Burger King or at McDonald's they'd have the Rugrats toys?
Yeah, the watches that talked and stuff.
I remember collecting all the watches.
I had the
It was
one with Phil and Lil on it.
I had the blue one which was Tommy's, I believe.
Yeah.
Cuz I think the green one was Phil and Lil's and the reddish orange I think was Chucky's.
My favorite characters have always been Chucky and Tommy.
I think my favorites were well, Tommy was one of my favorites, but I think Chucky was like my actual like favorite character.
Fun fact, my baby fur Sona, like the version baby fur version of my persona is actually like based on Tommy's outfit.
Nice.
Like she's got a light blue t-shirt and then just a white diaper. Like his iconic outfit.
Exactly.
But
Do you
yeah,
remember that in the first so many people forget in the first episode Tommy had a red shirt.
yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was looking at like Funko Pops of Tommy, and they have one where he has his red shirt, and it
Yeah, cuz
was,
it
I think it was from the pilot episode or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, cuz it was his first birthday.
yeah, and then he has a couple other outfits too.
Mhm. Now, later on in the series, Kimmy became my favorite character.
Yeah, I think my favorite episode so far from season one. I know this is gonna sound really silly, but it has a deeper meaning behind it. So it's actually like one of the very first seasons. I think maybe it was the second season, actually, now that I think about it. But it was in the original Rugrats, like before Dill and Kimmy and like all the other characters. But the name of it is called Chucky's Potty.
Think I remember that one.
It's pretty simple. It's basically like Chucky is learning like how to be potty
He's
trained.
Yeah, and isn't he like scared of it?
Yeah, so like he keeps saying like I want to stay in diapers forever. And I don't know. I found it like very relatable, I guess. Like
No,
I
I get it.
I think what I like the most about that episode is like I relate a lot with like overcoming the fear of change and like having to do new things in life. I have a lot of like anxiety and stuff over that.
Yeah.
So that was like a good episode for me.
I like one of the very first episodes where they're trying to get the big ice cream and they're like at that mini golf.
Oh yeah, I just finished watching that episode.
It's such a cute episode. Now, did you ever watch All Grown Up?
Okay, so I did. That was on a lot when I was like older. I think I was
Mm.
like between 10 and 13 when that was on. It's
See, I didn't.
okay. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but I don't like it as much as the original series.
But for a spin-off series, it was really good compared to any others I've seen usually.
That's what I
Like
mean.
unless
Like I'll watch it. I think it's okay.
yeah, I've watched through it a time or two. Uh I really liked it. I liked how they did the characters, kind of giving them even more personality and stuff. I didn't get a chance to watch it much, like actually growing up when it was coming out,
Yeah.
because at that time my family didn't have, well, we had cable, but it was harder to catch because of the times it was on.
My parents didn't have cable. We watched it at my grandma's house.
And see, I'd have to catch it whenever I'd stay the night at my grandma's house.
Yeah.
And even then, it would, because it would be on like Teen Nick usually. So
I
Nickelodeon
you
had
just
a lot of the
hey,
best
you
shows.
just triggered a memory of mine.
Core memory unlocked.
Well, when you were talking about like Nickelodeon at night,
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch Nick at Night a lot when my grandparents went to bed. And one of my favorite shows was Family Matters
Oh yeah, that was a
and
good one.
Fresh Prince. I used to watch that without them knowing about it.
Yeah, because I remember like Nick would end and it'd be Nick at Night, and I'd
Technically, I
fall
wasn't
asleep.
supposed to watch it, but I did anyway. So
I'm pretty sure that's a lot like with how people weren't supposed to watch Adult Swim, but they did.
yeah, that was the first time I had ever seen Robot Chicken. Was on Adult Swim.
That show is so stupid, yet some episodes are so funny.
There is no way that that show would be able to be made today.
Yeah. But I remember Nick at Night. Like I'd fall asleep watching like The Nanny
George
or
Lopez.
okay, so you remember like you'd fall asleep to Nick at Night and you wake up at like what feels like 2 or 3 in the morning and you just hear the intro to George Lopez.
Yes, yeah, that was literally every time I
Like
go to my grandma's house. Yeah,
like there was just something to that where it's like and then you just wake up and you're just watching it and then the moment it ends all your tiredness hits and you fall back asleep.
yeah. Man, I have so many memories at my grandma's house. I got really into Pokemon around that time too. So like, I would literally be watching Nickelodeon and like playing my Game Boy at the same time.
Yeah, there were so many shows growing up that my parents looked at and they're like, should we be letting her watch this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, my parents never wanted me to watch I'm trying to think of an example.
Invader Zim.
Invader Zim, Sailor Moon. I wasn't allowed to watch either.
Really?
Yeah, because it had to do with like I don't know, space, like not space, but you know what I mean. Like,
Oh no, not the space.
what am I looking for? What's the term I'm looking for?
Magical girls?
Well, what kind of magic is
I mean, they just transform and then they just have magic and fight.
it? I think maybe they thought it was like witchcraft or something. I don't know. Anyways, Samurai Jack was another one that I couldn't
Oh, I
watch.
remember that. The only episode I can clearly remember of Samurai Jack, and this is gonna sound weird, is the episode when his sandals break, he struggles to fight, and there's this kind shoemaker or store owner, something like that, and he's trying to fight these villains, and he's putting on all these different weird shoes till they finally just make him some new sandals eventually,
Yeah,
or give him some.
they didn't
And I
let me
clearly
watch it
remember
because it was
I
violent,
clearly
quote
remember
unquote.
these ones. They were like those platform heels, but they had fish in them. I don't know why. That's the only episode I can clearly remember because it was so ridiculous.
So technically, I wasn't allowed to watch Rugrats either. Not to get back on this, but my mom hated the way that they talked, and they didn't want us to start talking like that.
Well, the way they talked.
And then
They were
they wouldn't let me watch Hey Arnold because they didn't want me to talk like Helga because she's like really rude and stuff. But I watched both of those shows anyway.
they were great shows.
And then, oh, this will blow your mind. So I wasn't allowed to watch Powerpuff Girls either
What?
because, oh, like because one, they thought it was too violent, and two, because of that one character, him.
Like him was my favorite villain.
But they were like,
Maybe that
no,
explains a lot.
it's satanic. You can't watch that. It's too
That was
violent.
that was the point. They were literally beating up Satan.
I know, but like they saw it as like, oh
He was
no,
only in like 3 episodes.
these are my parents we're talking
True.
about.
Understand Invader Zim? Because
just
I mean, I've talked to you the whole thing about the whole creation of that show.
just let it be known that all of the shows that I'm talking about, I have seen them like since like growing up. Like it's not like I still haven't seen these shows. I have. It's just back when I was a kid and they were on TV, I wasn't allowed to watch them. So I don't want people to be like, "You've never seen Powerpuff Girls?" No, that's not
uh,
it.
yes, let's get that rumor going.
That's not it.
I just remember, like, I was allowed to watch these shows, but I know, like, my parents were kind of like, should we? I mean, the jokes, like, they were just so cautious with me. But then I practically lived at my grandma's, and she would sit down and we would watch The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy together, and she thought it was just a cute, funny show. She loved it.
I'm shocked that my parents actually let me like Pokemon as much as I did. Like I literally had a Game Boy. I would buy the books from the book fair and like I had a bunch of Pokemon stuff. But for whatever reason, what always pissed me off was okay, you know Goosebumps, right?
Huh?
I loved and still love Goosebumps. But my parents would not let me buy stuff that had to do with Goosebumps. I mean I would read the books anyway, like I would hide them so they wouldn't know about it, but like the show, like I wasn't allowed to watch the show, which I did anyway at grandma's house, but anyway. Like the books, I couldn't read the books, and they had like this fan club like at the book fair that you could sign up for.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it so bad, but they were like, "No. We're not buying that. It's demonic. It's scary." I'm like, "No." So, I always remember
It's
that.
funny looking. It's funny looking back. Like my parents, like they let me like all the stuff I like, and then they look at me now. I'm pretty sure, and they're like, "Why does she like all this dark gothic stuff? Why is our child a goth minus the black clothing?"
I
I'm
rem-
just like, "Do you not see what I grew up watching?"
I remember there was a kid in my class who got the Goosebumps fan club pack, and he brought it to school with him, and I was so jealous. Like, it took everything for me not to steal his glow-in-the-dark pen.
I don't blame you.
But anyways,
I remember, I think I was in like elementary school, maybe first grade, and I really liked Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And my grandma had found me a red shirt and it had like all the different Yu-Gi-Oh! Like cards and characters on it. And I loved that shirt and I was so excited to wear it to school.
you just
And then I
triggered
got
another
bullied.
memory.
I got bullied relentlessly that day and I hid that shirt and I cried
Aww.
because I loved that shirt so much,
Why'd you
but
get
I was so
bullied for
scared
it?
because they I was told I was gay and I was told that that's only for boys. What's wrong with me? And all this and that. And, being like a little freaking 8-year-old, maybe even younger. And I'm just like, just trauma, trauma, trauma.
I wasn't allowed to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! For some of the same reasons those other shows. So I never really got into it. However, like, I used to be really into Beyblade. That was like my jam in third grade.
I never got into Beyblade.
A lot of the kids in my class would play it, and I used to hang out with the boys a lot because they would bring Beyblades to school. Back then, you could. Like, they banned them recently, but
I can only imagine why.
back in the day, we used to have Beyblade battles after school, okay? And it was epic. But, yeah, I'd always hang out with the boys, and, like, I would get picked on because, like, people thought, like, I was like trying to be a boy because I had like shorter hair back then too. Okay, to make a long story short, at one point when I was in third grade, I got lice and I had really, really long hair. The school that I went to was really, it's the kind of school that you would get lice at. I don't know how else to say it.
Oh no,
But,
that makes sense.
yeah, I had lice, so instead of like, to make things easier, my mom got a pixie cut for me. Like she did one on me and everybody was like calling me a boy and like it was a rough time back then, but like I didn't really care, but like everybody else was just so obsessed with like, "Oh, that's gay," or like, "Oh, you got short hair. That's gay."
And it's funny now. If someone were to throw those insults at me like, "Oh, you look like a boy. Oh, that's so gay." I'd be like, "Damn. You trying to hit on me?"
Back then it was rough though. Kids were so mean. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. People sucked. I remember in elementary school there was this group of people in my class, or some like they'd been in my class before, so like I kind of knew them. And they would play like a Pokemon game. Now, not the cards, but because this was after Pokemon 2000, I think, came out.
I love that movie.
If not, it was the one right after that
That
one.
was the one with the
But
toys, wasn't it?
yeah,
Or maybe they both
and
had toys.
it had toys that you could get at, I think, McDonald's or Burger King.
It was Burger King.
It usually is Burger King. But
McDonald's wasn't cool enough.
nah, they still ain't. That's why their mascot's a clown.
They retired him. Did you know that?
Yes, and now their mascot is literally a sentient Happy Meal box named Happy.
Wow.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I mean, you gotta admit though, Ronald was pretty damn creepy though.
Okay, so I actually had the animated Ronald McDonald cartoons that you could get from McDonald's.
Me too. I had the pirates one.
I had all except for one of them because it was impossible to find around here.
Did you know that the same people that made those made Rugrats?
Real, maybe that's why I liked it.
Yeah, like the animation studio made it. The same
Like,
one.
like growing up, I was terrified of clowns,
Me
but
too.
Ron McDonald never scared me.
He does
That's
now.
that. That's where my nuggets came from. I knew he was okay.
We good. We're cool.
He was my chicken nugget dealer. We're good.
He scares me now because all I can think of is that Meat Canyon video, which I'm not going to talk about.
Nope. Uh oh, another show I used to watch. I could only watch it at my grandma's. Was Jackie Chan Adventures.
I remember that show, but I briefly watched it. I didn't really like watch the full episodes of it.
I have been using my Fire Stick to rewatch the full series. It's so good.
I did think it was a good series. It didn't catch my interest as much.
Because I remember I had a routine because I'd stay the night at my grandma's. Because we had the routine of we would go get McDonald's we would get McDonald's to eat. We'd get a frozen Coke from Burger King, and I'd eat it in the vehicle. We'd go drive around the park, drive through town, up and down the street while the sun was setting, and then we'd head back to her place in time for me to watch Invader Zim. Then I'd watch Jackie Chan Adventures. We'd watch Grim Adventures. And then I'd stay up and I would watch Gargoyles.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
I cannot get into it now, but it was a good show. But I had my own little fucking routine every weekend.
Speaking of McDonald's and Burger King, okay, this is how old I am. Okay, I'm throwing myself in front of the bus
Oh,
here.
oh
So
shit.
I am so old that I remember when Taco Bell and Dairy Queen had toys. And Wendy's and
I remember
Sonic
Wendy's.
and yeah, like every fast food place had toys because they wanted to be McDonald's. I remember
See,
that.
I don't remember Taco Bell because my family never ate there and we tried not to go to Dairy Queen too much.
Apparently
You,
Taco Bell had toys at some point. I don't know how
that
long ago that was, but yeah.
that kind of scares me for some reason.
I have this fever dream memory of the Scooby Doo live action movie had just come out.
Mhm.
Like the one from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And we went to Dairy Queen and they had Scooby Doo toys. I remember that like so clearly. And they also had like they had a GameCube set up like in the restaurant too. And
Interesting.
we used to play that snowboarding game.
Hmm. I remember when our Wendy's had a little TV in the it was kind of like a little sunroom area,
Hmm.
and me and my family we'd sit back there and we'd just watch whatever was on while we ate.
How do you feel
That way
about how do you feel about play places?
I can understand, especially in this day and age, why they're getting rid of them.
Yeah.
But it is better than just having these tablets in a fancy case for kids to play on.
I have so many
I
repressed
can like
memories of
I
play
rem-
places.
I loved it so much. I can still visualize perfectly climbing up the McDonald's one because ours had where you'd climb up, you'd go around a few turns, and then you'd go up these little steps, and you were in this big dome that was held up by like a single pole practically. It was not safe at all, but I remember getting up there and I would just sit up there by myself and I'd eat my nuggets.
I have so many memories, and I'm sure my sister can attest to this, So that same Dairy Queen that I was talking about, our parents would take us there just to go crazy because we were in the house too long. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember like we would go like all the time, like at least once a week or something like that. And we not necessarily to get food every time, but we would go like play on the play place. But
Yeah.
they had this little, I don't know what to call it, like it was shaped like a helicopter, but it was like a dome that you could like look out and see
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So
Yeah.
me and my two sisters, we would climb, and I was like, I mean, I wasn't that young. I mean, I was like 11, I think.
Yeah, I was still climbing in them when I was 11.
Yeah, but we would all climb into the little helicopter thing and just like shake the whole thing and like yell as loud as we could, and like our faces turned red and we were so happy and laughing. And my parents they'd just be like, you guys can't do that, you can't be like yelling and shaking the entire place.
I'm pretty sure that's not the worst thing that's ever happened with those play
Well,
places.
that leads into my next memory. So I remember this one time we were just, like goofing around, like climbing through and laughing, blah blah blah. And my knee, like the pants of my knee, like started to like absorb moisture
Oh no.
as I was crawling through the play place, and I was like,
Oh no.
"What?" Like it wasn't me. Like I didn't do anything, but I looked down and there's just like a puddle of pee.
Oh no.
I crawled through a puddle of pee in the Dairy
Oh
Queen
no.
play place.
No.
And then there was this other time that this girl like found a turd in the she found a turd in the ball pit.
Oh my gosh. I
And
never had that happen.
she was like walking towards her mom and she had it in her hand.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she was like, "Mom, look." They just like threw it on the ground and left it. I guess they like told the like workers or something. I don't know.
I can see this whole thing happen.
Yeah, like I was like just watching it happen, but like the mom didn't want to alert anyone. So like the little girl kind of just like threw it on the floor, and then they told the workers to go clean it up. And then I think the little girl and her mom just went home. I don't think they stayed after that.
Can you imagine being that little girl and years later your parents telling you that one time at McDonald's play
This
place
was
that
at
you
Dairy Queen, but yeah.
at a Dairy Queen play place that you just picked up a turd and was like, look what I found.
Yeah, I was like, why is she picking it up? Like, ew. Like when little kids find stuff and they take it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she was doing with this turd that she found in the ball pit. I mean, it was small. It wasn't like a big
It
turd.
it was but a nugget.
Yeah, I mean, it was a kid turd, but a turd's a turd. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh my
anyway,
gosh.
yeah,
Now
that was my core memory.
my favorite play place was the one at Burger King, but it had to be the one in my town
See, we didn't really
because
go to
there's
Burger King that often.
I only got Burger King when my grandma took me, and the only reason Burger King won me over was frozen Coke. But I remember their play place because it had where you would climb straight up. But the way you climbed up was there was this mat, so you'd like crawl down onto the mat and you'd go to one side and there was an opening. And it was like one of those little I don't want to say a net because it wasn't like
I know what you mean, like
rope.
those
Yeah.
those what's it called, like nylon strap things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go the other side and you like zigzagged going up. and I don't know why, but I just ate that up as a kid. And then it had where you'd go down the slide, and there was like these kind of like punching bags, but they obviously weren't punching bags, but you know what I mean, those type of things
Mm-hmm.
hanging.
No, I
And
remember those. Yeah.
I just loved it. For some reason, just my little kid self, that was just the shit to me.
I feel like we need an adult version of that.
Well, I've noticed that they've been coming, that places have been opening up for adult playgrounds,
I'm
like
down. Let's
inside play
go
places.
right now.
I think I think there's one in Indiana.
Ooh,
I know. You'll have to come up here and we'll just make a trip.
there's definitely a market for that.
Yeah.
Do you remember those old like infomercials for random toys and stuff? I
Yes.
remember this one for the what's it called? It's not a balloon, but it's like some kind of rubber you like stick a straw into and you can like blow on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes and no.
I
So
don't
I'm
know
thinking
what
of like
it's
three different
called.
things.
I'm gonna look it up because I don't.
I remember the Zoo Pal plate commercials.
I do remember those. We used to buy those.
I my family did too, but I can still remember the commercial in my head.
I've been seeing a lot of like old infomercials on TikTok lately.
Same.
So it's like reigniting all these like old memories I have of stuff. I think it's called I think they're just called like plastic bubbles or something like that.
Did you ever have moon shoes?
No, but I remember the infomercial for it.
Yeah, the kids were barely moving in it. Like they
Yeah,
would have the
and
random.
did you know that they got sued for broken ankles?
I can imagine why. I had moon shoes.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, and I would just hop in the road on them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's called like super elastic bubble plastic. It's basically just
huh.
plastic you blow up.
Yeah, because I remember like those things you could get from, I don't know if even places still have them, but where you put like a quarter or two in and you would like push it in, you pull out a sticker, but then they had the ones where instead of getting a sticker, it like dropped out and it was those little things. It was like a little tube and a little straw. And you'd like
Yeah.
put the little goo at the end of it, and
Yep, that's
most of
what
the time
that's what this is.
yeah, those things sucked.
I remember seeing the commercial and I was like, "Man, that looks like a choking hazard."
You know it's bad when a kid sees it and it's like, that's a choking hazard.
Hey, that's what the 90s were all about, man. Choking hazards left and right.
If you didn't almost die during that time, you didn't live through the 90s.
Exactly. Did you ever have a Furby?
Yes. I had two Furbies. I loved how they looked, but I never played with them. I was like, this is so cool. I'm gonna put you on a shelf. But they just didn't have that joy of playing with it.
I buried mine in my toy box until it suffocated to death.
Good.
In my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
the batteries ran out in real life, but I was thinking like, oh, I'll just suffocate it to death. That'll kill it. I hated that thing so much.
Ugh.
Yeah, I
Do
think it
you
was a
remember?
Christmas gift or something.
Do you remember? Uh, shit. What was it? It was just in my head. Uh, oh, I hate when that happens. Weird. Those iPod pets.
Like the eye dog?
Yeah, and then they had an iCat and iFish.
Yeah. I never
I
had
had the
one.
cat. I had
But
the cat and I had the dog.
Do you
The dog I
remember?
had,
Do you
I
remember?
synced it up once, and then it would never shut. It would randomly start going in the middle of the night and scare me.
Do you remember water wigglers?
No, actually, I don't.
Maybe you don't call it that. Maybe you call it something
Maybe.
else. Here, I'll send you a
What is.
picture on Discord.
Yeah, let me see.
I feel like you have seen this, like you would know what it is if you saw it.
Yeah, there's so many things that we grew up with that just had different names depending on where you were at.
My grandma would buy us these all the time, and I would bust them, like squeeze them so hard that the water would come out.
Okay, I saw kids at school that would play with them, and I always wanted one, but I never had one.
I loved those things so much.
Do you remember, uh, oh, I can't remember if it was like slime before slime. Like, it didn't, uh,
Gak?
no, similar, but not quite. This, it didn't do like the stuff like what slime is. It didn't have that stickiness,
Mm.
but it was kind of like a slime, and it came in.
Silly
I
putty?
remember no, it was basically like the texture of slime, but minus all that sticky goopy. So it was almost
Mm,
like it was like if slime and Jello had a baby. Like it was kind of.
you're losing
It's hard
me.
to explain. Well, I remember seeing an ad for it, I think on Nick, and they had where the one I had was it was like a plastic case and it was a flower. And so it was like a purpley color for the flower and then it had green for the leaf. And I remember one time because it had like a oiliness almost to it, like because you would peel the back off and play with it. And I
hmm
remember I sat it on my mom's couch to go to the bathroom and it stained the couch
Ooh.
and she threw it out. She was like, "We're never buying you that again." And I was so devastated for like 5 minutes and then I got over it.
Do you remember Skippets?
Yes,
I feel like
I loved that.
everyone and their sister would have one of these in their yard.
Yes. Honestly, like if they made an actual adult version of it, I'd use it.
I sent you
Like I loved it.
I sent you another picture of a Viewmaster. Do you remember those things? The red things?
Oh my gosh. That would entertain me for
Me
hours.
too. I loved those. I had like a bunch of different like reels that I'd put in there.
My favorite thing was when I could get it to where I was viewing half of two different images.
I used to have ones that were like animals, like zoo animals and stuff.
See, I don't remember what was on mine. I want to say there was one with dinosaurs.
Do you remember zoo books?
I don't think I ever had those.
I didn't have them, but I had a friend from church that had like the full set, and I would go over to her house and look at them.
Hmm.
I was obsessed with like zoo animal stuff back then. Like I wanted to be a zookeeper.
I mean, I could still see you becoming that.
I
Taking
need the math. There's too much math.
you take care of the otters.
Yeah. I actually we actually had river otters at the Bloomington Zoo that I used to work at.
Aw.
I didn't get to like hold them or pet them, but I got to feed
Well,
them like not directly, but like I prepared their food for them, if that makes sense.
yeah, it makes
Sticky,
sense.
sticky hands. Oh my gosh.
uh,
I'm looking at like a bunch of pictures of old stuff I remember.
do you remember a pup named Scooby Doo?
Yeah, I used to watch that show.
So many people hated it. I thought it was so cute.
Do you remember these? I'm gonna send you a picture in the Discord. I thought these were like dice or something for like a game. Turns out they're just plastic things that kids would collect.
Yeah, I remember them. I think I had those.
I had a couple. I got them from a
Yeah,
friend.
yeah, this is just cementing the fact of how are my parents surprised that I turned out the way I am.
Oh, I just saw a picture of a Cabbage Patch doll.
I had one.
I had a possessed Cabbage Patch doll when I was a kid.
I liked collecting dolls and things like that.
Yeah, we know.
If it
We're not going to talk
Yeah,
about that on this
but no,
podcast.
even back when I was little, I liked to collect like even like toys and stuff that was kind of creepy, and I'd just display them.
In case y'all were wondering, I have severe pediophobia, which is the fear of dolls. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I went to your house and stayed the night, I had a lot of trouble sleeping.
Most of the dolls were in the other room.
Most of them.
There was only like one in there. It was just Mary Ann.
And if you think I'm joking about having a possessed Cabbage Patch doll, I'm not joking. It literally was possessed. I saw it blink. Do you remember Wonder Balls?
Those little chocolate balls that when you bite into it
Yeah.
have a different candy in it.
Yeah.
Yes, and then they changed it to where it can only be that nasty hard candy that they have in it now. It's not even the good kind that they had back then.
They used to have Pokemon themed Wonder Balls.
Yes, I would always. Okay, so we used to have a Mad Pricer here in town,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd either go with my mom or my grandma, and right before checkout they would have that. Or do you remember this? They had it was I think it was like either Mario or it was Nintendo gummies.
Yeah, I do
So
remember those. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a pack of like 4 or 5. There was like I think Mario, Donkey Kong, Yoshi. There was probably 2 or 3 others because I remember there was like a red, a green, a brown, different ones. And I would always get those. And I remember the first thing I would do, because I never liked the Donkey Kong one because I think it was root beer flavored. But the first thing I'd do is I'd take Yoshi and I'd bite his nose off.
Did you
Something
ever
about those were the best.
did you ever collect Pogs?
Nope, I never saw an interest in them.
See, I never did either, but I didn't understand like where kids got them from. Cuz
Yeah,
like
same. I never even saw them.
you couldn't just like buy them in the store unless
It's
I
like
was
a
missing
bunch of
something.
kids. Yeah, it's like a bunch of kids. They just materialized with them, and then it just started circulating. Uh,
Hungry Hungry Hippos.
that was a fun game.
That was an aggressive game.
Yes.
Betty
uh,
Spaghetti. Remember
oh
that?
my gosh, I had so many of those. Honestly, I want to collect those again. Like, if I can find classic ones,
Mhm.
I want to collect them. Because I love collecting, like, toys from back then and even, like, Monster High dolls, the new ones that have came out, like, I just love collecting weird things like that, which is why and they creep my husband out, which is why they're kept in the art room.
I used to have a lot of Barbies. That was like my
See, I was
grandma
never
my grandma would buy us a Barbie like every year for Christmas and stuff.
I was never super into like, I played with Barbies, but I wasn't like, "Ooh, I want that Barbie." Like, it was just like, "Ah, yes, you're a girl. Here is a Barbie."
That's what I mean. Like I didn't necessarily ask for them. It's just that somehow we compiled a large collection of them because my grandma would buy them for us.
Yeah, like, there was the time or 2 where there might have been one with an outfit I liked. Because I remember I had one, I think her name was Skipper. It was Barbie's little sister, she was a little girl, and there was the big playhouse,
I used to have a
and
Ken doll.
blasphemy.
Yeah. And a
Now I
mermaid.
like
I had a mermaid.
now I liked the Bratz dolls because I liked their different outfits.
Okay, so my two younger sisters really got into Bratz, but I never did. I was too old for that by the time those came out.
Now here's the weird thing. Like, okay, I had a friend and she'd play with dolls too. And to me, I was like, okay, play with dolls. I didn't quite understand it. Like, I'd have fun, but I didn't understand. To me, I just wanted to make my dolls look pretty and put them on display.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll figure out what's wrong in my brain that makes me be like that.
Okay, confession time.
Yes.
So, when I was about 5, I didn't have any siblings yet, so I was an only child for 5 years. Um
The good old times.
I have very strong memories of, and I want to know if I'm the only kid that would do this. Probably not, but like, I don't talk about it a lot. So, I remember this one time I had like these giant stuffed animals, right? Like I had a
Hmm.
Dalmatian plush that was like the size of a real Dalmatian.
Hmm.
Because I always wanted one as a kid, but my parents didn't want to get a dog, so they just gave me
Yeah.
that. But
Okay.
okay, so I used to like act out the entire plot from Lion King using my stuffed animals.
No, I do stuff like that too with
Okay,
different
because
things.
that's the only like way I knew how to like play by myself, I guess,
Yeah.
was just like acting stuff out. I don't know.
No, I was kind of like that too.
I just think it's
Oh,
funny.
I had you remember those hammocks for stuffed animals?
Yeah,
Like it'd have the 2 or 3 anchor points and
like the little
usually
knit thing.
mhm. So I was hmm, let me think. I was probably about 6 or 7 when this happened because I know we were still at my old house when I was little. So I know I couldn't have been 8. So, you know how most walls like they just meet and it's a corner? Well, mine had where it had like a little like strip going through, like going up, kind of like siding or not siding. Oh, what's it called? You know, like how there's baseboards.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, but thinner, and it went through the corners, and it was at the top of where the wall met the ceiling.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was an older house, so it was screwed into those, and my bed was right under it, so it was right above my head. And I remember waking up hearing something creaking and popping, and I look up as the net gives way out of the corner, and I'd say maybe 10 pounds of stuffed animals fell on me.
Yeah,
And
that's happened to me too before.
I screamed so loud.
I don't think those were really like heavy load bearing nets.
Yeah,
Like I feel like we overloaded them too much.
and I think if mine had been in the actual walls, it would have been fine, but because it was in that, like, cheap stuff in the corner,
Mhm.
that's because the wood came out with it.
Oh gosh.
It was interesting.
Do you remember Light Brights? I
Yes.
used to have one, and the little pegs would be all in the carpet. My parents got so mad because
Well,
they'd be
then they
stepping
shouldn't have
on them.
bought it.
I know. I loved that. And landline phones.
Um, I had a Bratz landline phone, and it looked like the lips. So, like, you take it apart, and it was like the upper and the bottom lip.
I
And
never I never got my
I,
own, but
and my parents are the old house. When I was much younger, uh, it had actual land. Like, we couldn't use the internet if the phone was plugged in type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, us
And
too. We had dial-up.
and I remember my mom said, "You can have this and you can call your friends." What friends for one? And I remember I would pick up the phone and I'd listen at conversations. I thought I was so sneaky and I'd hear my mom go, "Get off the damn phone."
I want to see if I can play the dial-up sound.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so for all of you youngins out there listening to this is what sound like your
What we
computer, was it
wish
your computer would make or your phone would make?
what this is the sound our computer would make when it was loading up usually AOL, like internet. AOL based internet.
So Kalani, you're not gonna hear it, but they should be able to.
God.
Oh my gosh, I'm playing it right now.
Just the nostalgia.
It's like a meme now.
Yeah. It was so nice when my family moved to
Dang,
the
that's
house.
irritating. That sound. So
It was so
nostalgic.
nice when my family moved to the house that, my brothers ended up growing up in because we had regular internet. Because I
Mm.
grew up out next to the woods.
Yeah, I have, that sound reminds me of when I was like 9 or 10. I used to play PC games on the computer, and they weren't like online based, like they were CD-ROMs, but like
Oh my
sometimes
gosh.
sometimes I would use the internet like while I was playing games and stuff, and my mom would be like, "Get off the phone" or something. Like I'd be talking to my friend at the same time while I'm playing on the computer or
I didn't
something.
have friends.
It was
I
weird.
just
It was a weird time back then. Or my mom, no, I'm sorry. My mom would be on the phone and I would tell her to get off the phone so I could play my game. It's weird. It's kind of like, you remember like too when you flush the toilet while somebody's in the shower, the water would get hot.
yeah.
That's the kind of thing that the internet would do
Oh my
with the
gosh. The
phone.
the bathroom from like the house that I lived in when because it was about I was like 8 or 9 when we moved to the house that like my family lives in now. So that's why I like say the old house.
Hmm.
But I remember because we lived out by the woods, it was an old house. It's not that it was in bad shape, it was just old. And I remember when spring and summer would come, that's how you knew it was spring and summer because the kitchen would fill with ladybugs.
Ew.
And the bathroom, you'd be sitting in the tub and a slug would come out of nowhere.
Ew. Okay.
It was
I'm done.
horrible.
That's disgusting.
How do you think I felt?
Well, we're right at our hour mark, so we should probably wrap this up.
We're just gonna end it on the note of slug tub.
Man, this whole conversation has just brought up like so many memories for me.
I had a Sega growing up.
I had Nintendo.
I had a Sega, and I remember
But
my
I was
parents
always
got
a
it at a
Sonic
yard
fan.
sale. Same. That's all I would play. I had Sonic 1 and 2, and I would sit there and I would play it. But because my parents got it from a yard sale, there was some slightly wrong with it to where if you stepped too hard on it, or if you accidentally, not like stepped hard, but just slightly stepped on the cord, it wouldn't work and you'd have to unplug the
Uh,
whole thing and plug it back in.
do you remember like blowing on games?
Yes.
And they
It
told you
was the
not to, but like
it was the
everybody
only way
did.
to get it worked. You had to blow your game for it to work.
Yep. Well, if you guys are as old as we are, feel free to leave a comment down below and tell us about it. like things that you remember, because we'd love to hear about it. Also, if you have a podcast topic suggestion, which we are in desperate need of, um,
Please give us ideas.
please, for the love of God, please click
I
the
beg
link
of you.
below to go to the Google Doc and add something because we're running out of ideas. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.